Supine breathing. So the first exercise that we can do with someone is to basically get them in a supine position and establish breathing. That's the first thing that we do in the developmental process, is we learn to breathe while in a supine position. So that's where we start. Basically, have your client lay in the supine position, nice and flat. Jared has a pretty good cervical curve here. If his head was like this, we could basically get a mat, fold it over 4 times, and set that under the head, and get that chin down so he's in a nice neutral position. He definitely doesn't need a double fold on this mat, so we're just going to put this under there just to make him more comfortable and to get a nice, good airway open here for him to start his breathing process. So we want to make sure that he's flat on the ground, pelvis is in a good position, head's in a good position, shoulders are as far away from the ears as possible, and he's relaxed. And all we really want to do is just cue him to breathe in through his nose and then out through his nose with his mouth closed. I'm also going to ask him to put his tongue on the top of his mouth and just nice and slowly start to get a consistent breathing pattern. So ideally, we're going to have him inhale for about 3 to 4 seconds and exhale for about 6 to 8 seconds. And when he exhales, we want to get all the air that's inside his body out before he takes another inhale. So we're basically going to look for a few things. Is his stomach rising? We want to cue him to get the air into his stomach. And we want to make sure that's also coming into the sides and his back. So basically a 360 around his lower abdomen here. We want to make sure that's filling with air. It's not a bad thing if we're getting some chest expansion. Obviously, once we move forward, we're going to get some chest expansion too. But if he was breathing really up into his neck and upper traps like this, then we really want to start to cue it down here just to help people get the hang of things at first. And then initially, when we went full expansion throughout the stomach and chest without any type of expansion in the neck and the upper traps. So we're going to have him breathe in this position. We have most of our clients, well, now we have all of our clients start every workout with some silent supine breathing to try to settle down the nervous system and get them to more parasympathetic mode. So silent breathing is really important too. We want to make sure that he can breathe in and out without any type of noise. So we're going to have him plug his ears so he can really be sensitive to hearing that kind of stuff, and have him breathe in and out through his nose. And over time, he'll learn how to get the breathing pattern down in a silent manner, and that will really be good for helping him settle down his nervous system and get him ready to adapt and accept his corrective exercises much more. So this is our first exercise, our first reset, and it's our basic breathing exercise, supine silent breathing. 3-month breathing. Our next progression from supine silent breathing is a 3-month breathing. So basically we're going from laying flat, learning how to breathe, getting a good rhythmic flow, to a 3-month position where we're actually going to bring our legs up. So one of the first things babies start to do, throw them legs and arms in the air, start to move them around, and we're basically emulating this in our first stage with just basically being in that position and learning to breathe from there. So we're going to start with just having Jared pull his legs up, and we want to get him in a nice, and that's going to help him get into a nice neutral posture if he has extension, and that's going to just put him in a perfect position. His neck's good, and we're going to have him grab a hold of his shins, ankles, knees, wherever is a good comfortable position for you. And from there, we're just going to continue that 3-6 breathing pattern, in through the nose, out through the nose, get nice 360 expansion throughout the chest and the abs and the whole midsection, and we're going to have him breathe in this position. So once this gets a little bit easier for him, we're actually going to have him take his arms off of his legs and have him hold his legs up there. Another thing we can do is he can put his arms up in the air too, just to make that a little bit more challenging. But we're basically now, we're just getting the breathing position with the appendages up in the air, and then we'll start to move those appendages in later progressions. But this is our second breathing progression, 3-month breathing. Pelvic tilts. Now that we have Jared got a good breathing pattern in multiple positions and he's got some good stability on his spine, we're going to start adding some movement to this position. So first thing we're going to start with is pelvic tilts. So we want to make sure that when we're doing the pelvic tilts, we're timing this with the breathing, and that's really important and helps speed things up a lot. So basically, what we want Jared to do is first let's establish a good breathing pattern. So we'll have him inhale, fill up, and then exhale. And then on the next movement, we're going to have Jared inhale and go into an anterior tilt, and then exhale and go into a posterior tilt. And he's basically moving his hips with the breathing pattern. So he's syncing that timing down, and he's getting as much movement as possible in time with that breathing pattern. This is gonna start to fire up the musculature around the hips and core, time that pattern, and also get some good range of motion throughout the pelvis. So it's one of our basic exercises. A lot of times we see issues on the active straight leg raise not being able to be cleared. We throw some of these pelvic tilts in there and it clears it up right away. So this is one of our starter exercises on movement in the supine position, and it's supine pelvic tilts. Supine cross connecting. So with this exercise is the first exercise we're going to use to actually move the arms and legs together. We additionally want to time this with the breathing, and it's our first exercise where we're actually starting to cross the midline with the appendages. So that is huge for getting him online and getting his nervous system in the right spot. So what we're going to do is, once again, get that good breathing pattern, 3-6. And we're going to have him inhale, and then as he exhales, that's when he's going to start the movement. And he's basically just going to bring his hand to his knee, and then set it back down, switch sides. So we got him nice and stabilized with the breathing, we got his pelvis moving and stabilized, and now we're starting to get the arms and the legs moving in a rhythmic pattern, timed with his breathing, which is going to really help fire up his nervous system and get his core timed correctly. So that looks beautiful. So good posture. Our first initial movements here in the supine position. This mimics the crawling position, which we're going to revisit later in further progressions. So supine cross connect. Leg lowering 1. For this exercise, we're going to have Jared put his leg up on the post. You can also put your leg in a doorway, or if you don't have any type of post, doorways, or anything like that, you could always just grab a resistance band or a belt and put it around your up leg. But from here, we're starting to get into some higher progressions of moving appendages with a nice neutral spine. So this one is going to be a little bit lower on the progression list because we have Jared's leg supported here, and he's just learning how to move one leg independently of the other. So we have one leg in a flex position, and then one leg goes into an extended position. And this mimics running, sprinting, walking, a lot of the movements that we need for single leg. So basically from here, we establish that breathing pattern. We have Jared exhale as he lowers his leg. We can also stop it at the bottom and have him cycle a breath at the bottom if we want to do that. So we can have him exhale and then inhale again and exhale as he lifts his leg. And that's just a little more challenging to do the exercise with that breathing pattern too. So this is leg lowering 1, and it's our first leg lowering progression. Leg lowering 1.5. This is the next progression from leg lowering. This is actually a leg raise variation. This we call it leg lowering 1.5, basically just because we had leg lowering 1 and 2 and found that this was a good exercise to bridge the gap. So we're going to start with a bent knee, and then we're going to have Jared make sure he's in nice neutral posture. He's got his breathing on time, and he's going to start to lower and raise the leg from this position. So now we took away the post or the band, made this just a little bit more challenging. From here, we can progress this into a knee raised version. So we're just going to have Jared lift his leg off the ground, bring this leg up, get his pelvis in a nice neutral position, and then keep this position as he lowers the leg down. So as he lowers that leg, we don't want to see any arch in his lower back or any movement from his torso, neck, anything whatsoever. All we want to see is this leg nicely and smoothly going up and down without the feet turning out or anything like that. So we just keep that nice train track pattern, a nice breathing pattern, and we're just challenging this a little bit more with leg lowering 1.5. Dead bug arms and dead bug legs. this exercise, we're still working on supine, spine stabilization, and starting to move the limbs. So with this, we're going to start with some arm progressions. So Jared's nice and stable. Once again, he's got a 3-6 breathing pattern. He's getting good 360 expansion. He's going to inhale, and on the exhale, he's going to lower and raise his arm back up to the starting position without any movement from the spine, any movement from the neck, or any movement from anywhere in the body altogether. So we're just keeping nice breathing, we're lowering and we're raising, and we're challenging the anterior core with a nice easy progression with the arms. From there, we'll progress into dead bug with legs. So same position, everything remains the same, but this time, instead of lowering the arm, we're going to extend the leg. So he'll get his breath. On the exhale, he's going to straighten that leg out and bring it back in. Now, if he straightens that leg out real close to the floor and gets some sort of compensation here, like the lumbar extension, we want to make sure that instead of him kicking his foot so low, go ahead and bring it back in, we'll give him a target and tell him to kick up high. So kick my hand. Good. So that kept his pelvis in a nice stable position, and over time we slowly lower the target until he gets stabilization all the way down to really close to the ground and can maintain that throughout the appropriate amount of reps. I think someone should be able to do this for around 10 to 15 reps before we move on to any higher level progressions from here. So that's dead bug arms and dead bug legs. Dead bug with cross connect. On this dead bug progression, we're just adding in the cross connect to the basic dead bug. So once again, it's another opportunity for us to cross the midline, so we're going to take that opportunity now in the supine position. So we're going to have Jared start with his arms up, get his breathing pattern down, and then what we're going to have him do is extend one arm behind his head with the opposite leg, keeping that nice neutral spine, keeping his breathing pattern, and then bring them both up to the top position and just have his hand touch his knee to cross the midline and back down. So breathing pattern, we want to make sure that that's on the entire time, that he's moving on the exhale. We want to make sure that he doesn't go down so far that he has any movement in his spine whatsoever. And from there, and with all of our dead bug exercises, if we want to increase the difficulty, we bring both these legs up and then extend from there, which just makes it a little tougher without having the support of the opposite down leg. And those are our dead bug variations, specifically here, dead bug with cross connect.